in this level of climate crisis that we are experiencing, there is still new holes being drilled for oil and gas, and this is very dangerous.
Gas can't leak. If gas leaks in the supply chain, it can be as bad as coal.
Methane is an accelerant. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire.
Whether we know it or not, most Americans rely on natural gas on a daily basis. We use it to generate electricity, warm our homes, and cook our food, and even make materials like plastic and clothing. But what is natural gas? Where does it come from in the first place? And how do we get it? Natural gas is mostly methane, a potent greenhouse gas that's become a growing concern as the climate crisis intensifies. It also includes air pollutants known to cause harm to human health. Most of the natural gas that we extract is trapped in small pores deep underground, and we get it through a process commonly known as fracking. And as gas is fracked and processed, it has a tendency to escape, as seen here.
Methane escapes willingly, and it escapes both intentionally and unintentionally, and it escapes intermittently and persistently.
Those leaks can happen in different ways. Small amounts of methane can leak out of equipment fixtures during normal operations and add up. Methane can be released when systems fail, and methane can be released by operators, whether intentionally or unintentionally. For example, flaring, a process designed to burn off methane and convert it into CO2, can actually end up releasing methane into the air if the flame doesn't burn efficiently, or if it goes out, or if it doesn't get lit. Methane can also be vented into the air for safety and operational reasons.
They are things that put out tons of methane. Those super-emitting events are thought to be the majority of the problem.
A Guardian analysis of data from Kairos, a company tracking greenhouse gas emissions, found more than 1,000 super-emitter events worldwide in 2022 alone, with most coming from oil and gas sites. The worst of those leaked methane at a rate equivalent to 67 million running cars, according to The Guardian.
Methane's invisible, so you're not going to see this happen.
But there are ways to make gas visible.
The way that we measure gas, because it is invisible, is through instrumentation that can see it with its light signature.
And there are different tools used to visualize and measure gas: satellites, aircraft, and even handheld cameras.
The satellites historically have been operated by governments like NASA.
Today, nonprofits like Carbon Mapper and Environmental Defense Fund, or EDF, are getting involved in satellite operations as well.
Nonprofit operators, Carbon Mapper, EDF, are really important because they're telling the story more from how do you stop the leak.
Then there are aircraft that can fly over a particular region to study it closer.
The aircraft are mostly operated by academic outfits with input from nonprofits like Carbon Mapper and also from NASA. And they actually can really get down to that next level of not only seeing things on the ground, but seeing them day to day and seeing them hour to hour.
Then there are the handheld cameras.
They can really zero in on a certain operation and monitor it.
Sharon Wilson has dedicated the last decade to doing just that.
Oil and gas has been able to tell the public that methane gas is clean energy. And the only reason that they can say that is because it's invisible and you can't see the pollution. Optical gas imaging, also known as OGI, makes visible the normally invisible pollution coming from oil and gas.
For the last 3 years, she's worked with another climate activist, Miguel Escoto, to document emissions from oil and gas facilities in the Permian Basin, a major production hub in West Texas and East New Mexico.
The Permian should be described as a climate bomb because of the disproportionate impact that this single region has on the global climate crisis. According to Climate Trace, the Permian is the #1 source of greenhouse gas emissions in the planet. It's important to visualize the pollution of the oil and gas industry because that pollution affects us all. But apart from the broad global scale of these climate implications, there's also immediate local effects.
The methane doesn't come up by itself. It comes up with a lot of other gases that we call hitchhikers, and those are volatile organic compounds like benzene, ethylbenzene, toluene, xylene, things that are very harmful to human health.
Those hitchhiker pollutants, even in small amounts, can cause premature birth, asthma, cancer, and other adverse health impacts, according to a PSC for Healthy Energy systematic review of the scientific literature. That review also found risks are higher the closer emissions occur to human population, meaning workers at natural gas plants and nearby communities are at particular risk.
It's very easy to ignore things you can't see. I think that measurement and knowing a problem, being able to quantify it and locate it, is the beginning of solving the problem.
How to solve the emissions problem is a subject of some debate. Industry groups like the American Petroleum Institute point to efforts to better understand, detect, and mitigate emissions by developing new technologies and practices. One such effort is the Environmental Partnership, a coalition of more than 100 oil and gas companies making voluntary commitments to reduce emissions through improvements to facility design, operations, detection, measurement, and reporting. The federal government has also paid closer attention to methane in recent years. For the first time ever, it plans to directly impose a charge on greenhouse gas emissions.
So there's a methane fee in the Inflation Reduction Act that puts a fee on any methane leakage above a certain threshold from the oil and gas industry.
But some environmentalists say the production of gas is inherently incompatible with solving the emissions problem.
I've been hearing since early 2000s, don't worry about the emissions, we can solve that problem. We've got technology that's going to solve that problem. And I keep proving that they have not solved the problem and that their technology is unreliable. There's no way currently that the oil and gas industry can produce oil and gas without pollution.
We are not in a position right now where we can regulate this industry in a way that doesn't harm the climate. The public needs to understand that the most important thing we can do to fix the climate crisis is to stop the drilling, the fracking, the oil and gas extraction.
A recent report from the International Energy Agency includes a similar warning. Attempts by governments to prioritize domestic production must recognize the risk of locking in emissions that could push the world over the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold. But in places like the Permian Basin, oil and gas production is actually expanding.
So in our most recent trip to the Permian, we saw oil and gas facilities that were polluting. And we saw a lot of new drilling rigs.
Gas production in the Permian Basin has steadily increased over the last decade, hitting an all-time high in 2022.
This last trip, I was in the Permian Basin for several days. It was just the same thing that I have seen over and over again now for almost 10 years. It just was depressing. I can't stop just because I get upset. I cannot stop. There's too much at stake.
If we defuse the Permian climate bomb, the entire world benefits. We would be diffusing a major source of global climate emissions, and that makes the Permian an issue that the entire world should care about.
We should not be expanding oil and gas, and we need to rapidly and justly transition to clean, renewable energy. What I most want is for everyone to see oil and gas through my lens. And if that happens, I feel like we will have a transition. People will get angry and they'll realize that we need to move forward.